So, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi is almost in theaters and you want to go see it. But you don't want to go to the movies alone like a weirdo, so you convince your spouse, family member, girlfriend, or boyfriend
Got a boyfriend? Cute boyfriend?
to accompany you. But you soon discover that, if they have seen the Star Wars movies at all, it was only once, and they start asking you all sorts of questions during the movie. Instead of whispering the answers as the new plot passes you both by, show them this video to get them caught up to speed before you go. If you are that person and a loved one has shared this video with you, why don't you know more about Star Wars, huh?
None of your business, that's why.
Just kidding. This is a safe place where you won't be judged and where I'll bring you up to speed on everything you need to know going into the new movie. Don't worry, it isn't as much as you think. Of course, I'd recommend going back and watching all 8 other movies, but if you don't have time, or just don't care enough to do so, this video should suffice. As a final note, this isn't a complete plot synopsis of the previous films, just a general look at where the last movie left the characters and the major beats of the story with little to no speculation about what will happen going forward. This is just where we're at before the movie starts. Spoilers for all the Star Wars movies so far, of course. Though, if you're watching this, either that doesn't apply to you, or you don't care about spoilers. Let's begin. This is Rey, not to be confused with the other brunette butt-kicking Star Wars heroine with a British accent, Jyn Erso, from Rogue One. She is the main character of Star Wars, starting with the last numbered film release, Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Her story begins 30-ish years after the original trilogy. She starts off alone as a scavenger on a planet called Jakku, which looks an awful lot like Tatooine, the only other desert planet we know of from the previous films. The last battle of the evil Galactic Empire happened above this planet, and Rey has been there by herself for quite some time, making a living by collecting scraps from the wreckage of that battle. Her family, who we have not met yet, left her here for unknown reasons, and she's been waiting for them to come back ever since. She's mechanically inclined, good in a melee, an intuitive pilot, and speaks or at least understands several languages including Wookiees and droid speak. Throughout the course of the movie, we discover that she can use the Force. Basically, she has magical powers, including the abilities to sense things before they happen, move objects with her mind, and influence the weak-willed.
We will remove these restraints and leave this cell with the door open.
I will remove these restraints and leave the cell with the door open.
And you'll drop your weapon?
And I'll drop my weapon.
Throughout the film, she is conflicted about wanting to go on the space adventures she's dreamed of her whole life and waiting for her family to return to Jakku. Ultimately, she chooses to fight the bad guys and go on her hero's journey. This is Finn. He's a former stormtrooper from the First Order, a group that could be described as the evil Galactic Empire under new management. He was taken from his family as a baby and was trained as a soldier. After his first taste of real battle, where the First Order slaughtered a village on Jakku, he sees that he's on the wrong side of history and goes AWOL, trying to run as far as he can from the only life he's ever known. He's a competent soldier, and though he initially refuses his call to adventure, eventually comes around and joins his newfound friends in the Resistance, which you can think of as the rebellion under new management, to fight the First Order. This is Poe Dameron, first person on our list with a last name, the best pilot in the Resistance.
Hell of a pilot!
Though you might be tempted to think of him as the new Han Solo, Poe is a much different character. Positive, energetic, steadfast in his support of the Resistance, and supremely competent. You get the feeling that he rarely fails whatever mission he's on. This is BB-8, a spherical astromech droid, a type of robot built to be a co-pilot and mechanic. R2-D2 is another example of an astromech. A major plot point of Episode 7 is everyone trying to get a hold of BB-8 because he's carrying a portion of the map to the location of the last known Jedi, Luke Skywalker. Speaking of whom, this is Luke Skywalker. The story as we know it so far is that after he helped topple the Galactic Empire by being electrocuted a lot, he went off to reform the Jedi Order. Things were going along swimmingly until, well, I'll let Han tell you.
Boy, an apprentice turned against him and destroyed it all. Luke felt responsible. He just walked away from everything. Went looking for the first Jedi temple.
We don't know if he has found the Jedi Temple or not, but the Resistance wants him back so he can help them fight the First Order, and the First Order wants him dead so that he can't. This is General Leia, or Princess Leia if you prefer.
To me, she's royalty.
Well, she certainly is that.
She is the leader of the Resistance, sister to Luke, and estranged wife of Han Solo, with whom she had a child that we'll discuss in a moment. She has some connection to the Force, but has decided not to develop her abilities. She does, however, have the power to sense the welfare of those she loves from great distances. This is Chewbacca, longtime friend of Han and Leia.
That sounds very scary. You must be so brave.
He's still acting as co-pilot and muscle for Han Solo. The two act like an old married couple.
Oh, really? You're cold? Come on.
This is R2-D2 the astromech and C-3PO the protocol droid. They're still kicking around with the Resistance. 3PO doesn't affect the plot much, and R2-D2 is powered down for most of the movie trying to retrieve the rest of the map to Luke Skywalker, so that BB-8 will have something to fit his piece of the puzzle into. This is Kylo Ren. Real name Ben Solo, son of Han and Leia. He is the student that turned on Luke and killed the rest of his graduating class. He spends the beginning of the movie wearing a Darth Vader-type mask. As a reminder, Darth Vader was the father of both Luke and Leia, making him Kylo Ren's grandfather. Kylo idolizes him and is seen praying to his burnt, deformed helmet for guidance towards staying evil. He is prone to temper tantrums. This is General Hux, one of the foremost members of the First Order. Think of him as a ginger Hitler. He and Kylo butt heads about how best to be evil and vie for the approval of Supreme Leader Snoke. This is Snoke, the guiding hand of the First Order. First introduced using a super practical giant hologram, we don't know much about him other than he's the one who lured Kylo Ren away from Luke, and that he's been around a long time. This is Captain Phasma. She's in charge of the Stormtroopers' training and discipline. We haven't seen much of her yet. Her only other character trait is that she is loyal to the First Order only as far as it benefits her personally. This is Maz Kanata. She runs a watering hole/cantina and supports the Resistance. She is extremely old and very cagey about what she knows and doesn't know. So, by the end of Episode 7, the major events that have taken place are as follows. Finn, Rey, and BB-8 take the piece of the map that everybody wants on board the Millennium Falcon, Han Solo's old ship. They team up with Han Solo and Chewbacca, have a conflict with the First Order at Maz Kanata's castle, and are rescued by the Resistance, but not before Rey is captured by Kylo Ren. They find out that the First Order made a new Death Star called Starkiller Base, and mount a rescue attempt for Rey and an attack on the planet-destroying base. Unfortunately, the base has already been used to destroy the New Republic, the galactic government that was set up after the fall of the old Empire, which has all 5 of its capital planets destroyed by the superweapon, killing potentially trillions. Rey, in captivity, starts to use the Force powers she now knows she has and escapes to wander around the base, eventually meeting up with Han, Chewbacca, and Finn. The 4 of them take out the base's shield after temporarily disposing of Captain Phasma and plant some explosives to help Poe and the rebel pilots on their bombing run. Han Solo confronts his son, Ben, trying to take him home as he promised Leia he would. Kylo instead kills Han Solo to solidify his place on the dark side of the Force, takes a shot to the gut from Chewbacca for his trouble, and fights Rey and Finn in a snowy forest as the planet collapses from the successful Resistance attack. After Finn is severely wounded, Rey eventually taps into her inner beast mode and, since he's already injured, exhausted, and trying to turn her to the dark side instead of straight up killing her, she bests him and escapes the planet/base as it collapses in on itself and explodes. They return to the Resistance base, and Rey, Chewbacca, and R2-D2 fly off to find Luke. So, by the end of the movie, the major characters are in the following places. Rey, having followed the completed map, lands on an island and delivers Luke's lightsaber to him. The movie ends before they speak. Chewbacca and the now awake R2-D2 are chilling by where they landed the Millennium Falcon. I don't blame them. That looks like a lot of stairs. Finn is recovering in the hospital from a lightsaber wound to the back. Poe and BB-8 are still at the same Resistance base, waiting for Episode 8 with Leia, who mourns the death of Han. Kylo Ren is rescued from the imploding base by General Hux off-screen and is taken to Snoke to complete his training, presumably. He received a lightsaber wound to the face in his scuffle with Rey. Phasma was, presumably, shoved down a trash compactor on a collapsing planet. Status pending. Maz Kanata was left on her planet to clean up the mess left by the First Order's fight with the Resistance. As far as major themes left hanging at the end of Episode 7, they are as follows. How will Luke react to Rey returning his lightsaber and ending his exile? Where did Maz get Luke's lightsaber anyway?
A good question. For another time.
Who is Snoke, and what is his master plan? Who were Rey's parents, and why did they leave her on Jakku? What exactly happened when Kylo turned against Luke? How big of a setback to the First Order is the loss of Starkiller Base? All these and more may or may not be answered in Episode 8. Now, of course, I didn't cover every single character we see on screen that has a name, because there are literally dozens. But that's either because they weren't important enough to the plot, or probably won't show up in the sequel. Also, if there's a character that shows up in the movie as you're watching it that wasn't covered here, then don't ask the person next to you who they are, because we don't know. They are brand new. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this recap. Share it with anyone who needs it, and let me know in the comments if this was helpful, and if you'd like me to do more of these catch-up videos for, let's say, DC and Marvel movies as well. Until next time, you know what to do.